called according to his purpose. It does not say all things are going to feel good, all things are going to look good, even if they're going to seem good. And I've also begun to understand, for them that love the Lord, it's beyond just me. Yes, it applies to me, but all things in my life work together for the good of all of us if I live the right way. The life I live, the trials I endure, are not always about me. Now, let's actually turn here because we all know it, but looking at Job, right? We know the report of Job. I'm going to read just a little bit, verse 1 first. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job. And that man was perfect and upright and one that feared God and eschewed evil. So that is who Job was, his character. That describes the mindset, the life that Job lived. It's his character, who he was. And it was consistent because God himself said this about Job. Now, verse 6, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking down, up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job? Now, for those that are kind of new to this account, as it were, take a moment to think about how heavy that is. God, the creator of everything, and Job, said to the adversary who was looking for people to afflict, to damage and destroy, God said to him, I know what you're out here doing. Have you stopped and thought about Job? Now that implies two things there. Number one, of the supreme faith God had in Job, which was counted upon the fact that Job was a righteous man. God himself says to Satan later, he is a righteous man. When God gives a report of you, see, it's one thing for those around you to say it, for those you are among to say it, and as we do, that's what people should say. But it's something where God holds your name in esteem, enough to recommend you for a test. The also thing is, when it shows that God had a respect for Job, but God also has some things in store for Job. There is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Did Job fear God for naught? Hast not thou made a hedge about him and about his house and about all that he has on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the earth, in the land. But put forth thy hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he has is in thy power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. Now, let me ask you this question. Why did Job go through what he went through? Anybody? Why did Job go through all these trials and troubles? Okay. Well, for one, God was trying to prove a point to Satan, right? Because he pointed Job out. Satan didn't come asking about Job. Job didn't raise his hand and say, hey, what about me? None of Job's friends, those who came to him later and said, now, we recall all that you told us about serving this God. We recall the life that you lived, the stuff that you dealt with, and how you told us how to live and how to deal with these things, right? We know where your faith is and how your righteousness is. They didn't go and say, hey, there's this guy over here you might want to check out. God himself pointed to Job and said, try him, right? So the first reason Job went through what he went through is because God wanted to prove a point to Satan that a man who truly trusts me will trust me. Make sense? However, I submit to you there's a second reason Job went through what he went through. Know what that one is? I thought you had- Job went through what he went through to prove a point to us. See, Job endured those things. Job lived through that stuff. Job suffered those things to prove the truth of what God told Moses, what Moses told Joshua back in Deuteronomy. He said, the Lord will never leave you nor forsake you. See, there are accounts in the Bible of people who have gone and suffered through things, right? Who themselves had heard of their forefathers and patriarchs and what they went through. But just as they say also in Deuteronomy? Yes, Deuteronomy. Teach thy children when you're in the way, when you lay down and when you wake up, as you eat, as you sit down to eat, write them on the tablets of your heart. He's telling them, he said, okay, now, we went through the journey out of Egypt. We went through the desert. We saw and suffered those things. But as we know, everybody that went into the desert didn't make it out. The original folk that went in didn't make it back out. Their children are now this generation. He said, so your children didn't live through that. They didn't live through that deliverance. They didn't live through the plagues. They didn't see what I can do to punish those who stand athwart me in my will. They also didn't live to see the blessings that come when you follow me. See, they've heard the stories about manna from heaven. They heard the stories about how the quail fell around the camp. They heard about the water from the rock, but they didn't experience it. So he says, tell them continuously so they'll know who I am. So God has to, in times continuing, remind us that no matter what you're going through, I'm right here with you. I'm standing right here beside you. And as God does this, these become the signposts or what we can stand on as we go forward. Now, Job went through that so that we coming afterward know how and why to trust God. Job said famously, yet though he slay me, still will I trust him. Job lost his wealth. He lost his children. His wife abandoned him. He lost his health, was in a state of complete deprivation. Everything that Satan could touch, he did touch. And he tried to touch his faith, but Job held on to that. Brother Montgomery.
There are a tremendous number of lessons we can learn from Job. This is what you've stated already, that it was Satan who said you have a hedge around him. It was Satan who said that you have a hedge around him.
He tried to touch him.
See, he had been after Job beforehand. So that also shows us that even though God is watching over us, Satan is watching us.
Yes, sir.
God is watching over us, but he's also watching us. So he had tried to get to Job because he's been watching Job's life. But moreover, you look at Job, he's one of the two individuals that we see in the text that went through tremendous suffering. And God did not help him. Because of what you said earlier, the temptation and the test, God could not help Job. All he could do with Job was he put a restraint on the devil. The devil had a restraint on him that he could not take Job's life. But also with that, look at the language that the devil uses. He said, if you remove that hedge of protection from him, he'll curse you to your face. Well, then the devil was going to use Job's also wife against him. Because at his lowest point at the height of his suffering at least, it was she that said, why not curse God and die?
His helpmeet became a hindrance.
See, that was what the devil was using her to tempt him to do what he knew he would not do on his own. So we have to trust God in spite of. Even when we do not know what God is doing, how he's going to do it, or when he's going to do it, we must trust God.
You know, you brought up a very important word. Be mindful of who you marry. Be mindful of who you mate.
Yeah.
Be very mindful. Because sometimes even the most well-meaning people have their breaking points. We talked a while back, a month or so ago, about Peter when he stepped off the boat. And we say, you look at Peter and go, how come you struggling? You know Jesus. You've been with Jesus. You've seen his miracles. You've seen what he's done. How do you have not enough faith that you could just believe? And you look at the storm. You already saw him calm a storm. Before that time he came out there walking on the water, before that they were on the same body of water when the storm came down upon them, and they said, we're going to die. We're going to drown. Lord, you're going to let us drown? And Jesus said, have y'all no faith? I'm right here with you. And he calmed the storm. He stopped the storm. And as our brother Woolridge can attest, who's been out there on that water, storms out there ain't no joke. He said just enough in the boat they were in, a jet ski passed by, and the wake from the jet ski, which was smaller than the boat they were in, set that boat to rocking. So a storm sweeping down off those mountains, across that water, barreling through there, where people have obviously drowned before, right? That tumultuous storm, Jesus said, stop. So we say, Peter, that, but now you ain't got no faith? Because the devil will keep throwing storms at you till he finds one that'll break you. And the devil can make some really big storms. See, that's what he did with Job. See, when he took his children, they came to him and said, Master, we were just visiting and we came and saw that your children, first off, bandits came and took off all your wealth, all your cattle, your camels and your goats and your donkeys. Their substance, their economic substance was in their herds and the things they owned. So it's like saying somebody got your credit card information and emptied out your account. And not just your account, they hit your pension fund you've been working for 45 years. That's $700,000 you've had stacked up. Yeah, that's gone. And there's no recourse. It's gone. Then he said, because that did break Job, he said, we came from the house where your kids were, the kids that you pray for every day, the kids that you sacrifice for, the children you love, they're all dead. What was it, some 7 of them? More than that, wasn't it? 10. It's hard enough to lose 1. He lost 10 at once. That didn't break him. The storm amped up. He said, okay then, now I'm going to touch you. The devil is relentless in trying to destroy us. And he got closer and closer to his house. See, first he touched his money, and that's hard. A lot of us would fold there. Then he touched his family, and that's harder. A lot of us would fold right there. Then he came and touched him. But then he said, I'm going to get the person closest to you. I'm going to get the person that you rely on in this life. So that's what a good spouse is. They're the person you lean on, husband or wife. When you're going through these things, you go there for solace, for comfort, for understanding. What I'm dealing with, I can't bear this by myself. That's why I have you. You are my helpmeet. We twain joined into one in God. You're supposed to be the one to help me through this. And the person close to him said, give up. Now, touching all these things, right? Here's someone wants to think about. We read about Job, right? We read the start of the situation, and we read the end of the situation. Okay. Here's the kicker. The Bible, by and large, is a history book. It's a historical text. The vast majority of it, minus those prophecies that have yet to be fulfilled, but the vast majority has already happened. It's already passed, right? It's history. So, we have the benefit of seeing after the fact. We have the benefit of seeing where they started and where they ended. We see when Job had all of his wealth and his children and his health and life was good. And then we see how he got it back at the end. But we get to see all that he went through in the meantime, between time. So, why do we get to see these things? Why? Because these stories aren't included by happenstance. It isn't just coincidence or they're not fillers in the book to take up space. There are millions of other people who lived, right? But there are hundreds, not thousands, stories in the book alone, people who've gone through things. So why are these included here? Why? Because we get to see God be God. We get to see him fulfill his promises, prove his faithfulness, confirm his commitment made to his creation. We get to see people struggle, and we get to see God save them. Okay? We'll get to see these things so we'll know they're true. These stories are included, these accounts of people's lives and experiences are included for us. See, they lived it. They lived it. Once they went through it, they didn't have to go back and revisit it. Their stories are there for our benefit. So it says in Romans 15:4, for whatsoever things are written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Additionally, 1 Corinthians 10 and 11, it says, now all these things happen unto them for examples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. Every nuance was for us.
Yes, sir.
But notice this now. You mentioned about Job. You look at Job's faith and reliance on God. Job's reliance and faith in God was more than we read about it. The historical account of Job's life. This history to us, you just stated. Mm-hmm. But Job lived it in real time.
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going.
Real time.
See, that's the thing. Okay, we're going to get there. Now, again, we read these stories after the fact. Hebrews 11. What do we call that chapter? The heroes of faith, right? It starts off, Hebrews 11:1. Now faith, let me tell you what this thing is. Now faith is the substance of things that we hope for. Substance, that word there of hypostasis, is the building blocks, the material, the thing by which it is made, of which it's constructed, is the substance of things we hope for, the evidence of things that we do not see, right? So you walk through Hebrews 11, and it gives this long list. We have time. When you have time, go read that if you have not as yet, of these mighty men and women of faith, these champions of faith, who lived through these situations of Moses, of David, of Rahab, of all these people. And then he says, I don't have time to tell you of the rest of them. Gideon and Barak and the rest and all the things people did and they accomplished. Women gained their children back to life. They won wars. They conquered lands. Some of them suffered. Some of them were destitute. Some were in the desert. Some endured horrendous torture in the name of the Lord. They were sawn asunder. They were fed to wild animals. They suffered. And it says, though, all of these did this not receiving the promise. That's why they're champions of faith, they're heroes of faith. They went through all of these things without receiving, at that time, the promise that was made unto them. But for me, in Hebrews 12, it continues this. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses. Therefore, seeing that all of those people are our examples who are witnesses to the graciousness of God, who are witnesses to the promise he made, I'll never leave you nor forsake you, who are witness that I went into some stuff, but God brought me out. And even didn't bring me out on this side of life, the promise still stands. Oh, God wills, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. Now, here's where I come to the crux of this lesson. The question, do I go through what I go through for me? As you said, the answer is both. Here's why. As I already covered, the Bible is a history book, right? We're reading it after the fact. These things are concluded, okay? But as you said, these people were living it. They were living through these things. They didn't see what was going to see. We see how it ended up. We get to see the whole thing from a comfortable distance. We get to watch Job living high on the hog. We go, oh, man, that's messed up that Job had to go through that, man. That's crazy. That's terrible. I sympathize with Job. But it's okay because everything worked out okay. Right? That's the benefit of living after the fact. But we said Job didn't go through what he went through just for him or for God to prove unto Satan, or even to strengthen his own faith. He went through for us. So the question becomes, you ever think about the fact that you are the story that's being written for the people coming after you? Your life is the testament to faith that somebody down the line will refer to. That is the beauty of this. But even more than that, we are still writing this story. That's what we are. One second, brother, as before we get there. When our lives have ended, or even when a trial has finished, right? We can say, okay, that chapter is closed. That chapter. As you read a book, you read chapter by chapter. But you haven't got to the finale yet. However, each chapter holds a piece of the story, right? Now, what you're going through in that chapter is what you're going through in that chapter. And you have a decision on how you react to that. You have a choice on what your faith looks like as you go through that, right? And the people around you are watching as you go through that. See, Job's wife watched him suffer. It wasn't out of callousness that she said, curse God and die. It was out of pity. Now remember, as his wife, she shared in what he had. She lost her money too. She birthed them babies, right? She has suffered too. And now she's watching the man that she loves, that she's close to, the man that she committed to, her other half, suffer this. She reached her breaking point. She says, I don't want to see you go any further. Sometimes, like I said, you got to be careful, because even the most well-meaning people, and they mean well because they love you. They understand the faith that you're operating under. They'll tell you to give up. Not now some, because they want to sit back and watch you fail, because it's entertaining to them, or it makes them feel better about themselves. See, a lot of times we'll do that. We'll see somebody struggling and go, whew, at least it ain't me. Like those Jews, that the Jew that stood up in the temple and said, thank you, God, that I'm not like him. Ain't it great that I'm not like them people over there? See him, that I'm not like some people, that guy. Some people want to watch you fail because it makes them feel better about themselves. It adds to their self-righteousness. Some people want to watch you fail just because it's a welcome diversion from their own lives. That's why I don't like social media. I'm thinking, people taking shots at me. Stop handing them bullets. If you stop telling everybody your business, nobody could comment on it. See, we want to say, well, people will say, you should talk about your successes and your achievements. You should tell everybody when you do something good. Okay. Tell people that you know and love and actually care about you. Tell the folk you can actually trust. You're telling 4,000 strangers about that. Everybody don't have your best heart interest in mind. See, for some people, you are free streaming TV. I could watch reality TV, but I got to pay $99 a month for that. Or I could just log on. And I can see every part of your life fall apart. That's my man. Thank you for my man. That's my man. I love my man. 3 weeks later, he cheating on me and have a baby with somebody. And now folk going, that's so tragic. Or that's my woman. I love her, man. We get married someday. Paper come back. That baby ain't mine. Oh, okay. I'm starting my business, and y'all can't tell me nothing, and I made it for myself. I'm a boss now. I'm getting out there, and it's all on me. 3 months later, y'all don't want to support me, and nobody want to buy anything from me. And see, that's why I don't mess with y'all. Even my own family don't want to support me. Yes, sir.
You know too much about that.
Again, it's entertaining.
Brother Jackson,
Yes, sir.
you recited Hebrews 11 and also 12. And amazingly, there's a vast difference between, I might say, us and them. Even in their lives, Genesis to Malachi, the word faith is only used twice, F-A-I-T-H. Now, faithful and faithfulness multiple times. And when F-A-I-T-H was used, it was used not by man, but by God. In Deuteronomy 32:20 and Habakkuk 2:4. And in Deuteronomy 30:20, he said, you have like a people who have no faith. In Habakkuk 2:4, he said, the just shall live by his faith. Right? But now, how did they make it? How did they become listed in the heroes of faith in Hebrews 11? It was that they exercise a total dependency on God. They depended on God. They relied on God. In every situation in their lives, they said, God will bring me through. God had proven himself to be faithful in their lives. God would deliver them. God would just bring them through their trials. That's how God had been to them. But even in the New Testament with the disciples, they watched him feed 5,000 men plus women and children on the hillside, get in a boat to go across the Sea of Galilee, and began to question one another. We brought no bread. Huh? They thought they were going to sink. So what Christ say? He used a term, it's called oligopistos, little faith. You have faith, but it's not enough to carry through your storm. See, when we get to the point in time when we rely on God, depend on God for everything, then our faith in God will increase.
Yes, sir. Faith requires, as I've said before and had to learn to try to live by, faith is born in the waiting. Faith is born out of how long you got to wait to see what God will do. Faith ain't faith if you get everything you ask for right now, because then you don't hope for it. There's no duration that requires you to wait for it. If I see it, is it faith? Now, I will say this, since I just said that. I tell you all the time, some people speak poorly of people of faith, of Christians. They say, oh, yeah, y'all with that blind faith. Y'all can't see that. They know proof of God. You just got blind faith. I said, no, I do not. And I don't believe God ever tells us or encourages us to have blind faith. My faith is built on what I've already seen, which is evidence of what I'm hoping to see. See, I've already seen what God has done for me. If I, and one of my other cousin's favorite songs, count your many blessings. If I stop, and I thought about this recently, I work with keeping a journal. Every time I get to a low point, I'm saying, this is going on in life. If I also have an account of, God fixed this, God brought me to this. See, it's easier for us to remember rainy days than it is sunshine. I used to detest when my former other half would say, we were never happy. We were never good. And I went, never? Ever? Out of 13 and a half years together, never. I remember some good moments, but I understand that's our human nature. It's easier to remember the pain than it is to remember the happy moments, because we don't trust the happy moments will last. We're conditioned to look for the pain because we're afraid of being happy, because we're afraid we're going to lose and end up back in the pain. But if we remind ourselves in the storm, you cannot have a storm if there was not calm. That's how weather patterns work. We have a meteorologist here. You cannot have, and we've had some storms here in Oklahoma. I remember several years ago, it rained for 5 or 6 days straight. That was about 11 years ago. I was still in Langston. As my father would say, it was a frog strangler. It was a gully washer. 5 days straight, pouring rain. Not just steady drizzle, it was pouring rain. It ain't rain outside now. So I can mark that moment. I remember, I look back and go, man, that's a lot of water. But it's not right now. Our faith is founded upon the things I've already been through, but also by the things that were written aforetime. See, I ain't been through what Job has gone through. Thank God for that. I thank him for that. Because the stuff I've been through has been enough to push me to the edge, to the brink. The stuff I've been through has had me have some moments where I've said to myself, like Elijah, I'm tired, Lord. This is all you got. Take me now. Job said, I'm tired, Lord. If this is all you have for me, take me now. I've been in those places, and I ain't been near through what he has gone through. But I have the benefit, if I'm wise, to look at what Job went through and say, okay, it can be done. What am I giving to you on this evening? The title of this particular subject is My Life as Legacy. Like I said, we read all of these accounts because their stories are over. Their stories are literally written. There are people in your life whose stories have ended, whose stories are written. I always talk about it because there wasn't nobody like her, my mama. I always say, if there was anybody I could say earned heaven, it was that woman. I said, I know the woman prayed for me every single day. I don't think she did. I'm not pretty sure she did. I don't believe she did. I know she did. I could see the effects of her prayers in my life. There were times I would just feel a sense of peace. That stuff I've been dealing with for a while, I just said, it's going to be okay. And I know because she was praying that I would have that peace. That's powerful. And when we found out that the reason that she could not enjoy the Thanksgiving dinner that she cooked for 4 hours was because she had a grapefruit-sized tumor behind her stomach that had been there for a very long time. They just kept missing because they didn't look for it. That was tough. That was tough. And we prayed a lot. A lot. We prayed a lot. Our church family prayed a lot. There's a lot of folk out there, as my brother can attest. There's a lot of people there. And they prayed a lot. As we saw things progress and we hoped for better diagnoses, and we saw the days when she was doing a little bit better, she could actually eat hold something down. She could hold water down. That was a start. I said, okay, it's going to get better. And I knew in my heart, I knew God would take it away. She's still young. She got good 20-something years left by the nature of things, at least. She got time, right? And I'm watching and I'm praying. I'm begging. God, don't take my mama. I watched her. Now, I wasn't there. I was up here. She lived in Dallas. But when I was there, I could see sometimes when she struggled. But she was still positive. My brother would tell me there were times that it really broke her down. That she's like, why me? A woman who never smoked, never drank, not once in her life, ended up with cancer. But I definitely did see her with her notebook of names on her prayer list of the people from church that said, will you pray for me? The people who would reach out to her personally and say, because I know you're a praying woman, will you pray for me? We talked about that several weeks ago too. Being a bringer to Christ, bringing souls to Christ, is first found on how you live before what you say. Wherever you are, when people see you and say, I know you one of them church folk, I can tell. I can see it on you. Will you pray for me? Church folk and co-workers, whoever, would say to her, and she kept that book. She had a list of names for cards that she would fill out and mail to people that hadn't been in on Sunday. A lot of times, she wasn't there on Sunday because she just couldn't make it. She was too weak. She was too sick. But my father made sure she had Lord's Supper every Sunday. Told her what was going on in the lesson kind of thing. She would study at home. They would study together. Through that entire process, even when sometimes it broke her, she still kept doing. So when I get to a moment, and I have my moments, I say, God, why me? I'm tired. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I've tried. I've given it all that I think I can give. I think about my mama, and I say, she kept pushing. I was reading her story as she was writing it. I stand here now telling her story after it ended. I pray that somewhere along this life, we sing the song, if I can help somebody as I pass along, that somebody can say it looked at me through something I've gone through and say, how did you make it through that? Man, I wouldn't have put up with that. I wouldn't have done that. I couldn't have gone through that, man. I left it a long time ago. I pray that it can be said that somewhere in my experience. Yes, ma'am.
Just a short comment. You say your mother's story has ended. I don't think so. I think it's living on through you. And if you would look at it like that, then you will get a whole different perspective because she taught you to pray.
Yes, ma'am.
And it can live on through you. That's the legacy part of it.
Yes, ma'am. There is the legacy. We've got 66 books written so that we could see that and their faith could be planted in us. God, how do I deal with this? This is how. God, I lost my child. How do I deal with this? This is how. My spouse betrayed me. The person I put all my life in left me. How do I deal with it? This is how. The folks, church people turn on me. Ain't you supposed to be better than that? Ain't you supposed to love me? How do I deal with that? This is how. Now, like I say, that chapter of her on this side of town book is closed. And someday, so will mine be. Someday, so will yours. But if we live right, if we walk that road of faith, we're not going to be perfect. We're going to struggle. We're going to mess up. We're going to fall short. There are going to be times, don't look at me because now I'm down. Listen right here, I'm in that storm like Peter. I'm sinking. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Why was that account about Peter sinking in the Bible? So that we would know sinking will happen. The Spirit didn't have to make him write it. Every success and every failure is written so we know it's going to happen to us too. It's all there for our benefit. And we are here for each other's and other people's benefit. My life can be a legacy of the faith I have in God. So do I go through what I go through just for me? Even if I'm the cause of it. Because I'm not going to pretend I'm Job. Job was a righteous man. Now, blameless, as Brother McGraw said, righteous, right standing, and that's secured by Jesus. But I also know it means being right. And there's some situation I found myself in because I wasn't being right. I've lost out on some real nice things because I was doing some stuff I had no business doing. Now I could go, God, why me? Why is it? I know why me. I know exactly what it was. We say, what good is it then if you be buffeted for your faults and endure it? If you take an L, if you catch a whooping, if you lose out something because you was wrong, and you stand up and start and say, you know what, that's right. That's on me. I'll take that. That's commendable. But if you go through something that had nothing to do with you, if you go through, the children of Israel going through the wilderness, That was all their fault. They kept testing God. They procured his wrath for what they did. They can't be martyrs and victims then. Everybody not want to be a victim. Everybody want to blame somebody else. I saw the other day, a woman said she had her first child at 19, and her parents cut her off. And somebody said, that ain't right. You deserve their help. I said, why does she deserve their help? Their job is to raise you, not the ones you made. And she herself said, no, they did it to teach me that having kids ain't no game. They had to teach me about responsibility. But folks want to say, oh, you poor thing, oh, you a victim, oh, that's so sad, it's your parent. And this generation want to blame their parents for everything. Something I have learned, people say, well, how come my parents never told me this? Because they were too busy living and trying to survive. Y'all know, when you working every day, dealing with bills, dealing with people that your job don't like you, dealing with sometimes conflict in your marriage, dealing with your kids, dealing with life, I don't really have to have a moment to sit down and say, now let me tell you about everything that happened this week and explain how this makes it okay for you. We're busy living. My mother also, one of the greatest pieces of wisdom she ever gave me, I told my children already, I passed on to them. She said to me one day, and it opened up my mind and my life. She said, I tried to do the right thing. And sometimes trying to do the right thing, I did the wrong thing. And that did something to my life, gave me a peace and a confidence. When I was looking at my children, sometimes I'm gonna do the wrong thing. I'm trying, I mean well, I really do, but I'm gonna mess up. That's part of being a parent. It's part of being a person, part of being life. But it's how I live through those things. Do I stand on God? I tell my small people, I say, you know, I got something going, will you pray for me? I got some things going on right now. So I got some stuff that's, you know, kind of got me a little, you know, unsettled in my mind. Will you pray for me? I pray for them all the time. But I tell them where I struggle. I tell them when things are going bad. And I let them know God got me. I'm a living witness of it. And he'll have you. So that is this for tonight. Again, just to think about that. Whatever you're going through, whatever you will be going through, and it's some tough stuff to be going through. Everyone got a tailor-made situation for us. See, Satan will make a storm for you. And it'll be just the kind of storm he knows will get you. I don't like cold weather. It's going to be some sleet in that storm. He's going to find one that gets you. But when this thing is said and done, can somebody look at you and say, I've been blessed because I've seen you make it through? What will be the legacy of your life? Thank you.
When we walk with the Lord in the light of his word, what a glory he sheds on our way. While we do his good will, he abides with us still, and with all who will trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other to be happy in Jesus, but to trust and obey.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Brother Pat for another timely way of allowing me to give to the devotion for tonight. And lately I've been studying with someone, and we were discussing two terms. One term was reverend, and we concluded, because of the Bible, that the person that he was calling reverend shouldn't be called reverend. Okay, so we came to that conclusion by the scriptures. So tonight, if you're out there and on Facebook, I would like each and every one to participate in this study along with us. My subject for tonight is, do apostles exist today? And if he out there, y'all please give me some scriptural backbone so that the person that asked this question will be edified. So are apostles, do they exist today? With me, I came up by a little vivid study that the Roman Catholics believe that the man that they call the Pope is the successor of the Apostle Peter. You know, the Mormons claim 12 to 15 apostles all at one time. Did you know that many Pentecostal congregations identify their preachers as apostles? Such claims are totally inconsistent with what I found in the scriptures. You know, the term apostle, let me look over at the back. I wrote it down. Apostles, apostolos, it's a masculine name. It's a delegate, a messenger, one sent forth with orders. He that is sent, an ambassador, is a commissioner of Christ. So do apostles exist today? You know, the apostle of Christ were not replaced when they died. Acts 12, 1 through 2 can verify that. You know, Herod killed James, the brother of John. Judas Iscariot was succeeded, but it was not because of his death, which would prompt his vacancy. You know, the 11 prayed and spoke of the apostleship from Judas in Acts 1:25. It was not his death, but his sin that removed him from the office of apostleship. I also noted that the qualification of apostles are no longer attainable today. You know, the seven sought out Judas' successor. In Acts 1, verses 21 through verse 22, the criteria for apostle candidates was that the man was a companion of Jesus, and the 12 from the days of John's ministry until Jesus' ascension into heaven. And they were also witness of the Lord's resurrection. These conditions were so limited that even in those early days, just 2 men could be found who met them in Acts 1:23. Modern-day apostles ignored the sovereignty-limiting qualifications of the original apostles. Apostles were chosen by Christ, Luke 16:13, Acts 1:26. And in Proverbs 16:33, did you know lots was thrown for every decision that was given by God? None who claim modern apostleship can substantiate the notion that they were chosen by Jesus. Okay? First of all, he's going to say, well, what about Paul? You know, Paul was an exception. Then it says, in the last of all, he was seen by me also, and as I was born out of due time. In 1 Corinthians 15, let me begin at verse number 3 and read down to verse number 8. For I delivered unto you first of all that which I also received, has that Christ died for our sin according to the Scriptures, and that he was buried, and he rose again the third day according to the Scriptures, and that he was seen of Cleophas, then of the 12. After that he was seen above 500 brethren at once, of whom greater part remain unto this present, but some are fallen asleep. Verse number 7. After that, he was seen of James, then of all the apostles. Verse number 8. And last of all, he was seen of me also, as one born out of due time. So that let me know that Paul is basically saying, even though he wasn't the last apostle to die, that he had seen Jesus to become an apostle chosen by him. Did you know that during my study, we should all be aware of the people that call themselves apostles today, because there are some false apostles. And just as Satan, the master of deception and the father of lies, can transform himself into an angel of light, so those who serve him can transform themselves into the righteous ministry, even apostles of Christ. You might want to look at 1 Corinthians 11, verse 13, 15 for those. Those who say that they are apostles and are not will be found liars when tested. Revelation 2 and 2. So that concludes my lesson for tonight on whether or not apostles exist today. And I hope each and every one that is here tonight, even on Facebook, they are actually questions the ones that call themselves apostles today, and ask them to give you biblical scriptures on their apostleship, especially concerning the gift of the apostles that they definitely do not have today. That concludes my lesson for tonight. But tonight I also want to remember a very dear sister of ours back home, Rose Cochran. She transitioned this life Monday. And I'm asking that each and every one pray for the Cochran family through this time of bereavement, that God will comfort their heart on the loss of a very dear sister that I've known for years. That concludes my lesson. After a song, Brother DeVos, would you come and ask for prayer for the ones who stand in need?
Depart and close thy eyes against the light. Poor sinner, harden not your heart and be saved. Oh, tonight. Oh, why not tonight? Oh, why not tonight? Will thou be saved? There, why? Oh, why not tonight?
Amen. I want to thank you all for being here this evening. All of our teachers. Brother Payton, appreciate your message as well. We have some prayer requests.
Sister Anderson and I would like to thank our church family for praying for us as we traveled to and fro St. Louis, Missouri on last weekend. The roads were very treacherous, quite a few bottlenecks and semis lying in the middle of the highway. So we know that without prayers, without your prayers, we would not have made it safely. And so thank you.
Right, if there's no one else, please go with me to the Lord in prayer. We have several others. I will mention them as we pray. Holy Father in heaven, we come to you this evening. Lord, there's so many that needs our prayers and need you, Lord, at this time as we go through a very difficult period in our lives, Lord, all around the world. We ask a special blessing, Lord, that you would just touch each and every one of those whose names have been called on this evening, Lord, and those who will be announced shortly. Continue to be with the Cochran family, Lord, and thank you for Brother Peyton for lifting them up, Lord, and bless them as they go through this period of mourning. Continue to be with Sister Stovall, Sister Reese Davis, Sister Yapel, Brother Dwayne Collins, Sister Ella Johnson, Sister Ackerson, Sister Diane Smith, Sister Clay, Sister Molly Reed, Lord, and several others as I will read in just a moment, having issues, Lord, of life, health, in recent times. Lord, I want to ask a special blessing on Sister Dollison and her family as they continue to mourn the loss of her mother, our dear Sister Reed. Be with all of us, Lord, knowing grief is not easy. And we just ask you to be with each and every member as they go forward. Be with the Woolridge family, Lord, as they prepare to travel the next few days. We ask that you keep them safe. They'll be heading to Branson, Missouri on this coming Friday. Ask you to give them an enjoyable time while they're there and keep them safe, Lord, while they're there and definitely while they're on their way back. Continue to be with Sister Webb and her family, Lord. Asking special blessing on Marcus as he is seeking help. Please help him get what he stands in need of, Lord, if it be thy will. Be with our daughter, Kid, for her health and the search for employment. Bless Sister Webb herself, Lord, and the entire family as a whole, as they need you in their lives at this time to provide the strength, Lord, as they go forward. Lord, we ask a special blessing for Sister Annette Dawson as she will be traveling to Arkansas this weekend, and ask that you just keep her safe while she's on the highways and byways, Lord, and continue to be with all of our members who are traveling. And Lord, we're so thankful that you provided safe travel for the Andersons as they went to St. Louis this past weekend. Thank you for keeping the Montgomerys safe as they traveled, Lord, and allowing them to come back to us without any harm or danger. Continue to be with us all, Lord, as we continue to go forward in our lives, realizing, Lord, that we need you now more than ever. Lord, we ask a special blessing of all those who are suffering over in Israel and the Gaza Strip and all other areas over in the Middle East, Lord. Bless them in particular, and just bless us all, Lord, worldwide, whoever may be going through difficult times. Continue to be with us, Lord. Guide us, keep us in your care, if it be thy will. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen. I want to thank you all again for being here. Just a couple of announcements. We have a couple of things that's coming up in the next few days. In particular, as has been mentioned several times, Brother Shannon Hayes, installed as minister of the Forest Park Church of Christ on this coming Saturday. It will be at Millwood School at their auditorium starting at 2:30 p.m. This coming 22nd. The Sunday, I'm sorry. And then the following Saturday, the 28th, there'll be a special get-together, a fellowship, be a meal in his honor. That will be, again, on Saturday, the 28th, at 3 o'clock p.m. at Charleston's Restaurant in Edmond. That's at 33rd and Broadway. It sits on, will be the southwest corner, 33rd and Broadway. Again, that will be on the following Saturday. This Saturday, our clothing drive will be conducted by Brother and Sister Brown. It will start at 9 and go until 11. Again, if there's a need that you have, you can contact them or possibly come by. Also, they're still looking for coats. We haven't got there yet, but we know it's coming. And there's many of our children who possibly could use coats. So if you have one or have the heart to purchase one, please don't hesitate to do so. And then on the 29th, Brother Kevin Jackson will be hosting what he's calling the Harvest Day. That'll be on October 29th. They're asking all of our children to participate. Now, this will include Bible study. We need the children here at Bible study. They will receive a harvest bag, and attendance in Bible class is required. So please put that on your calendar, parents. Please. And then finally, mark your calendars if you hadn't already done so. We're slowly getting toward our mental health workshop, which will be on November 4th. Here at the building from 10:30 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. Currently, we have probably 6 or 7 people who have said that they will be here by signing up online. There is a spot on the website for you to go on and sign up. It's really, really important that you sign up so we'll know how much we need to bring in as far as supplies for our refreshments. We need you to do that. I know there are some who don't like going online. We've got paper sign-in sheets, one in the back and one in the front. Take a minute, sign up. We really need you to do that because the deadline is the 29th. Excuse me. So again, if you intend to come, please either go online or do it on paper. But we really need to know how many will be here. That's all I have, Brother Montgomery. Anything? Derek, happy to be on fall break. See you, Derek. And I think we've got another fall breaker back there. Sister Hayler, she's getting ready to sleep in for a day or two. And I'm glad they're going on fall break. I can go up and down Rockwell without getting ran over now. But anyway, that's all I've got. So please be standing, and we'll get ready to get out of here. Brother Webb, why don't you come give us a closing prayer?
Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come this evening thanking you for allowing us to come into your house and be touched by the word. We'd like to thank Brother Montgomery and Sister Montgomery for picking me up today, Lord, and bringing me to hear this word. Just bless this world we live in, Lord. There's so much tragedy going on. Just look over the ones in Israel, in
Palestine, and you're the only one that can stop the ceasefire. You know, it's just tragic. You know, just bless the Estes Park family. Bless those that are sick and shedding in, that wanted to be here and weren't able to be here, Lord. Just touch them. Just bless this church as a whole, Lord. Please, just watch over us. Bless Brother Pratt for the word he brought today, Lord, because I learn something every time I come here. So just thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed on me, Lord. No, I don't deserve them, but I sure appreciate them. Just watch over my mother this evening, Lord. She's going through some things, so just bless us, Lord. Just touch us and guide us home this evening as we go our separate ways, that we all may reach home safely, Lord. These are some blessings for you, in your son.